Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So Charles Barkley recently sat down for an interview with Dan Dakich of Outkick. So I'm going to react to the interview. Now Charles Barkley, I go back and forth with him. Sometimes I'm like he's super woke. Other times I'm like he sounds reasonable and even based. And he did have a show with Gayle King. So Charles was asked about the Nike study and his thoughts on it. And he just came out and said what he thought about transgender athletes competing in women's sports. He didn't even phrase it that way. He said men competing against women. And I love that because that's what it comes down to. You can use whatever language you want to use, whatever terminology you want to use and call them trans women. But we're talking about men competing against women in sports. Something that we do not do unless it's some co-ed situation because sports has categories for a very good reason. And the whole point of a women's category is to exclude men. So Charles gives his thoughts on this issue and he doesn't mince his words. So let's take a look.
Hey, did you see this? I don't know if you saw this. Nike's been really good to me. Nike would take me on trips. I made some money. But they're helping fund, I'm curious your thoughts on this. They're helping fund a this is a gender-affirming care study on young boys with the goal is impairing boys to be able to come down to participate against women. Have you seen this thing?
Yeah, in case you are unaware, a recent article in the New York Times that went into detail about Blair Fleming and San Jose State University and everything that went down. There was a little segment within the article that spoke about some research that Nike were funding. Research into boys who transition early and the effect it has when they compete against girls in sports. And it sounded like they were trying to justify boys competing against girls and how disturbing that a shoe company would allegedly be funding such research, such a horrible experiment on young boys.
I have not, but I'm gonna make this very simple for you, Dan. Men should not play sports against women. I'm not gonna get into all the bullshit that's going on out here in the world today. It's interesting. I always sit back and look at the stuff, and let me tell you something. I love gay people. I love transgender people. I'm against any form of discrimination. Period. Because you can't say if you are against. I love my gay friends and I love my transgender friends, but I'm not gonna get into all this stuff that's going around. Men should not play sports against women. If anybody think that, I think they're stupid. I'm not, like I say, I support the gay community 100%. I support the transgender community 100%. But I do not, under any circumstances, zero, think that men should play sports against women.
So he stresses over and over again that he's not against any community. He supports, various communities. He stresses that. But at the end of the day, you can support a certain community and still acknowledge the truth. You can support a community and still acknowledge facts. Men should not be competing against women. That's it. And this is coming from an athlete, a legendary male basketball player. He knows the difference between male athletes and female athletes. He sees the WNBA, female basketball players. I support the WNBA. But they don't dunk like the men do. They don't jump as high as the men. The level of aggression that we see on the court is certainly there. I mean, that's for sure. But it's not the same as the men's game. And he knows this. That's why he cannot come out here and look like a fool and say, I support trans women competing in women's sports. He can't come out and say that. Some people have come out and said it looking like idiots. Some athletes have come out and said it when they know for a fact that it is wrong. It's not a level playing field by any means, and it's dangerous. And we all know it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be categories in sports to begin with. We would just be allowing everybody to play together. And we'll be like, oh, wow, so-and-so got injured. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, the women didn't even score one goal. Oh, I wonder why. No, if there wasn't a women's category, the only people you would see playing sports are able-bodied men So yes, you can support whoever you want to support, and we can all be against discrimination. We should all be against discrimination. But a female category does exclude. It excludes men, just like I'm excluded from the under 12s category. We need to get back to reality and stop acting like inclusion by any means necessary at all costs is a good thing. It's not. To the point where the word inclusion has now become a dirty word to me.
And if anybody have a problem with that, they're gonna have to get over it because I'm not gonna change I'm not gonna change. I just think it's wrong, period.
I'm with you. I couldn't. You said it perfectly. If somebody doesn't like it, get over it. I always say this: there's 350 million people in this country. We're going to have different opinions on shit, right? I mean, if you don't like my opinion, get over it.
And that doesn't see. I'm not one of these people. If people disagree with me, I'm good with that. Hey, we disagree.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. I don't hate you. I'm not gonna call you names because that's just silly and stupid. But I'm never going to think it's all right for men to play sports against women.
I love that attitude. Some things are not up for debate. We don't need to debate everything. This is not even something that really should ever have been debated, like it's some intellectual back and forth. We all look foolish even debating this. It's not up for debate. It's very clear. And to even get to the point where some were persuaded that this was a good idea. Can you imagine the level of indoctrination that must have gone on a global scale, or in Western countries, rather? Can you imagine? Through years and years of being lied to. And even now, there are people who still believe that it's okay. And we have had women injured. We have had women's careers ended. Peyton McNabb, for example, she didn't even get to play in college. Very, very sad. She didn't even get to try out for a scholarship. That alone should have ended this.
And I don't even think that's controversial. That's the thing that's funny.
I don't either.
Like some of this stuff make, like when you see these debates on television, like, yeah, men shouldn't play sports against women. I'm done. I don't want to hear you try to explain it to me. No, I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to argue with you. Men shouldn't play sports against women. I'm done. Don't try to tell me this or this or this, period.
I always say there is some shit you should argue about, but that ain't one of them.
Exactly.
Dan, I love that answer. There's a lot of shit we can argue over. That ain't one of them.
This does piss me off. And I you mentioned it earlier, guys playing against women's sports, but this drives me batshit crazy. Adults getting these surgeries for their little kids to transition when they're like 8, 10 years old. Charles, that makes me batshit. Don't with kids, Charles. That's my thing. Don't with kids in all this transgender transitioning stuff. If you're an adult and you do it, cool. Great. But why do we with kids?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like I say, I support the gay community and transgender community a great deal.
He says this several times, and again, it's to stress that this doesn't make me transphobic. This doesn't make me homophobic. This doesn't make me, whatever else phobic. I'm just applying what is right and what is wrong, and it is wrong to chemically castrate children, to subject them to procedures that they can't even consent to. How did we get to that point? I'm watching detransitioners give testimonies. In New Hampshire, for example, there was a recent hearing. It is horrific what they have done to these young people. Absolutely horrific.
My name is Freisha Mosley. When I was a teenager, I was groomed by my doctors, and then a surgeon cut off my breasts because I hated myself. I believed that I was being transformed into a man and that my new identity would make me whole, but that never happened. My surgery left me with nerve damage and painful scar tissue. My chest is numb to the touch, but I suffer internal pain because of the damage. 10 months ago, I gave birth to a baby boy. He is the greatest joy in my life, but his arrival accompanied surgical complications and more trauma. My surgeon left pieces of breast tissue in tatters inside of my chest. This is a common practice when a girl gets quote-unquote top surgery because the surgery is performed by a plastic surgeon and no oncologist is present to make sure that all of the breast tissue is removed. This surgery is cosmetic in nature and destroys functioning body parts permanently. Days after giving birth, my milk came in. My chest filled up with painful hard rocks, but I had no way to release the milk because my nipples were severed and reattached to nothing. They are decorative. The pain I felt physically from the milk being trapped in my chest changed my entire concept of pain. Nothing compares to that agony except for the heartbreak of the loss. I had milk for my baby that I could not give him because I was a confused and sad teenager, and my doctors took advantage of that. How could they have been so careless with me and with so many young girls like me? Why did my doctors alter my healthy body and not tell me that I had any other options? I don't want any other girl or woman to ever experience what I experienced. There is no way for me to get my breasts back. I will never breastfeed a baby. I will never know how my baby feels against my chest because all I have is numb scar tissue. No girl deserves this just because of temporary beliefs she has about herself. Thank you.
How did we get to this point? And again, this should never have even been up for debate. You can't even get a tattoo until you're 18. Little girls can't walk into the plastic surgery clinic and demand all these procedures, but yet teenagers have had healthy body parts cut off. Young girls undergoing double mastectomies to remove healthy breasts for no good reason.
You can be who you want to be. But I don't even think anybody knows who they are as a young kid. I don't think anybody knows. So I think we have to be very careful because, you don't want to put kids in a disadvantageous situation because, hey, when you get older, you can make your own decision. But I think we have to be very careful screwing around with kids, because, they're not fully developed as a person.
With all the challenges that people face in life, why would you choose to put kids at a disadvantage? Why would you choose to do that as the adults in the room? Just leave the kid alone. There are alternatives.
And hey, if you want to transgender when you get older, God bless you and do your own thing. But when you're a young kid, first of all, listen, as an adult, we really don't pay half the shit our kids say any attention. Not even on the transgender thing. Like most adults were like, yeah, my kids are pain in the ass. I'm not even paying them any attention. So you have to be very careful with that.
Yeah, your kid comes home and says, I'm Spider-Man. Okay. That's it. You're not going to tell the kid it's okay to jump from building to building using his web, are you? So I love that attitude. Very, very simple. And that's how we should have addressed it in the very beginning. Oh, okay. Well, I don't think men should compete against women. End of story. Not even engaging with lunatics who think otherwise. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves and God willing, I will see you in the next video.